What's going on, guys? In this video, we're going to talk about how to lose 25 pounds before the end of 2024. And I'm going to go through this step by step. I'm going to make it extremely practical. That way, by the end of the video, you actually know exactly what it is that you need to do every single day to make sure that between now, which at the time of this recording is June 14th, and December 31st, you lose 25 pounds. And this is going to be using math, like very, very easy numbers, very simple to follow. Okay. So let's get into it. If you don't know who I am, my name is Joey Yochheim. I'm the co-owner of defaultkings.com. We are an online men's fitness coaching company. We work specifically with Christian entrepreneurs and business owners and professionals to help them lose anywhere from 10 to 50 pounds or more. We've now worked with over 600 guys. They've lost anywhere from 10 to as many as 188 pounds. So when it comes to losing weight and making sure you actually get it off and keep it off, I generally have a good idea of what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's just go through this step by step. Let me pull my mic into this. That would probably be helpful. Hopefully the audio is fine. First, okay, you need to actually determine how big your daily calorie deficit needs to be. Okay, and we're using the example of 25 pounds. But if you had 50 pounds that you wanted to lose by the end of the year, you could do this exact same math to figure that out. So using 25 pounds as a metric, 1 pound equals 3,500 calories. Okay, 1 pound of fat, technically, but if you're losing 25 pounds, chances are the majority of it is fat that you're trying to lose. So 25 pounds times 3,500 calories equals 87,500 calories. So all you need to do is take this number divided by how many days are left in the year, which again, at the time of this recording is 201. And this number is the calorie deficit that you need to produce for yourself every single day. That's it. So right now, June 14th, if you just get yourself in a 435 calorie deficit every single day between now and December 31st, you will lose 25 pounds. It is science and it is math. It is very simple. That is what will happen. Now, is there human error involved? Yes. Okay, you could be tracking wrong. You could have done these calculations wrong. You could overestimate your calories, underestimate your movement, or overestimate your movement. There's human error involved. But if it was perfect and this was in a vacuum, that is all you would need to do. But of course, it's not in a vacuum. And I'll get into that in a second. So, 2, you use that number to determine your daily calorie intake. So you now know how many calories into a deficit you need to be each day. So now you determine how much you need to actually eat per day on a calorie basis. So what you do is you take your total daily energy expenditure minus 435, and that is how you determine how many calories you should be eating each day. Okay. Total daily energy expenditure. Okay. What is that? Well, it's this, what you see right here. So I'm blocking the title, but it's fine. It's what you see right here. Okay. This is TDEE. It's made up of these 4 things. Okay. And this is the scientific way of doing TDEE. Okay. You have EAT, which is your exercise activity thermogenesis. How many calories are you burning from exercise? You have TEF, which is the thermic effect of food. How many calories are you burning just by processing food in your body? Then you have NEAT, which is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So it's like right now, I'm not exercising, but I'm moving my body, I'm moving my mouth, I'm moving my tongue, I'm moving my hands. This is burning calories right now. It's not exercise, but it's burning calories. That's what NEAT is. And then you have BMR. This is your basal metabolic rate. This is baseline calories that you are burning simply to survive. This is how many calories you would be burning if you were just laying in bed and breathing. Okay, that's BMR. TDEE is made up of all 4 of these factors. So that's the scientific way, right? So of course, to determine your total daily energy expenditure, you would need to specifically calculate all of these things, but it's not super practical. Okay. If you're watching this and you kept watching after my intro or you're familiar with me at all, chances are you're a business owner, you're an entrepreneur, you're a high level professional. You don't have time to figure all these out. And it's also just not practical because we'd have to get you in a lab and we'd have to do studies on you to figure out the exact specifics of all of these numbers. So it's not super practical. It's scientific, but it's not practical. The practical way to figure out what your total daily energy expenditure is, so that way you can figure out what your daily calorie intake needs to be, just use the Mifflin-St. Jeor equation. Okay. This is very easy to use. So you pop over here, I have a hyperlink to it, but you can just Google Mifflin-St. Jeor calculator and this will pop up. And this is just an equation that helps you estimate what your TDEE is. So I'll use myself, for example. I'm like 170 pounds. I'm 6'8". Just kidding. I'm 5'8". So what does that work out to? 68 inches. And I am 23 years old. Well, I'm about to be 24, so we'll just use 24. So this is more accurate. So my BMR, according to just these metrics, being a male, 170 pounds, 68 inches tall, 24 years old, my BMR is roughly 1737. But remember, okay, let me share this tab instead. Remember, BMR is not equivalent to TDEE. BMR is always going to be less than TDEE. So if you ever run an equation, you're like, my total daily energy expenditure is less than my BMR, you did it wrong. Okay. So I've now found my BMR. How do I actually figure out my total daily energy expenditure? Because we still don't have that number. So what you do, whoops, wrong one. So what you do is you use what's called an activity level multiplier. And this is going to give you a really practical way of determining what your total daily energy expenditure is. So I look over here, and again, I'm using myself for example. So looking at all of these activity levels, these different multipliers, I'd say I fall somewhere around here, right? I'd say I'm very active. Hard exercise and sports 6 to 7 days a week. I lift 4 days a week. I train jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, MMA 5 to 6 days a week. So I'm probably right around here. I could maybe fall closer to this number, right? Because sometimes I do 2 days, but I'm just going to do this to be safe, right? I'd rather underestimate my activity levels than overestimate it. Because if you overestimate it, your calculations are going to be wrong. And this is where most people make a mistake and they say calorie tracking doesn't work. It's because they just overestimated their own activity levels. So I'd rather you underestimate it. So I could probably put this, but I'm going to roll with this one. Okay. 1.725. This now, using this number and the multiplier, spits out my estimated TDEE, the range, anywhere from 2823 to 3170. Again, we always err on the side when it comes to weight loss, always err on the side of being overcautious. So for this example, if I was using this and I was like, okay, well, my TDEE minus 435, but it gives you a range for TDEE, use the bottom of the range. So using myself, I would use 2823. I would not use 3170. Just err on the side of caution and give yourself that buffer. So I would use 2823 minus 435, and whatever that comes out to, like around 2,400 calories, right? That would be my daily calorie intake. So we've now determined what your daily calorie deficit needs to be. You know how to find your total daily energy expenditure. And because of those two, you now know how many calories you're supposed to be eating daily between now and December 31st. Okay. Now, what do you do after that? You track like your life depends on it. And here's the reality. It does. A lot of people don't like to talk about this. And it's like this culture of like healthy at every size, which I understand the sentiment of the movement, what they were trying to do with it, like body positivity, like accept people for how they are. Sure, it's beautiful, it's great. But the reality is you're not healthy at every size. As soon as your BMI is higher than 25, you increase your risk of every mortal disease that you can think of, whether it's heart disease, cancer, stroke, diabetes, all of it. Your risk goes up. Does it mean for sure that you're going to have it? No, but your risk of it elevates across the board. And it doesn't matter if that extra weight is from muscle or fat. Would I rather it be from muscle? Sure. But extra weight is extra weight and your body's not supposed to have it. That's why BMI is a health indicator. Okay. So the reality is track like your life depends on it because it does. Being overweight guarantees that you are at a higher risk of early death and all potentially fatal diseases. Your risk of developing them goes up through the roof. So track like your life depends on it because it does. Weigh yourself daily. People mess this up too. You need to use the same exact scale. You need to weigh yourself at the exact same time. And ideally, you're in the exact same body state. Now, time and state are going to be somewhat similar because chances are if you're weighing yourself at 8 a.m. every morning, you're in the same body state at 8 a.m. all the time. Where people mess this up is they'll use the scale at their house, then they'll use the scale at their doctor's, then they'll go on the road and they'll use a different scale. And their weight fluctuates anywhere from like 5 to 10 pounds because they're switching the scales all the time. So you can't actually get any accurate data on your weigh-ins. And the weigh-ins are important because the weigh-ins are how you know if your calculations are right. Okay. And it's how you troubleshoot, which is the next slide. We'll get there in a second. But you need to use the same scale. Weigh yourself again, ideally at the same time. I prefer morning. So I wake up around 6. By like 6:30, I've kind of done my morning routine, use the restroom, do the things I got to do, and then I weigh myself at 6:30. Right. And same state just means Don't drink a big glass of water one day and then not the next day. Don't eat breakfast before you weigh yourself one day and then don't eat breakfast before you weigh yourself the next day. Make it as consistent as possible. Reduce the variables. Okay? Weigh yourself daily and then track your daily, two L's here. Sorry for the typo. Daily calorie intake. And you can use MyFitnessPal or Chronogram. They're both free, right? And they're both really solid. I like Chronogram better personally, but MyFitnessPal tends to be easier to use for people that are new to this. Okay? So track like your life depends on it, right? Now, here's how we troubleshoot. Let's say you're not losing weight. You do everything I told you to do here, step by step, but you're not losing weight. You only have two options. If you are not losing weight, you can either consume less energy, which energy just means calories, or you can expend more energy, which again, energy means calories. So eat less or move more, right? Or eat less or burn more technically, okay? Because all weight loss is this thing called energy balance. And so this is a good graphic of it. If your weight is balanced, it's because you're consuming the same amount of energy as you're expending. It's even, it's balanced. This is called weight maintenance, okay? If you're gaining weight, you're consuming more energy than you're expending, right? Weight gain. Weight loss, which is what we are trying to achieve here, you need to be expending more energy than you are consuming. Okay? So you're either going to consume less or expend more. Ideally, in my opinion, you do both. The most fit people I know are always putting themselves in a position to consume less calories and burn more whenever they're cutting. Right. So if I have friends that bodybuild and they're trying to drop weight, or I do MMA and jiu-jitsu, so I need to cut weight for fights sometimes or tournaments. Right? Every time that happens, I make sure I'm also more active and also eating less. I do both. It's the most efficient way to do it. Okay. And it's the most sustainable long term. Now, here's some examples of how to consume less calories, right? And how to burn more calories. Let's do consume less first. So actually just tracking your calories, chances are you'll consume less. Everybody thinks that they're eating 1,200 calories. And then they track and they're like, wow, I was eating 3,200. Yeah, dude. That's why you gained a lot of weight, right? So one of the best ways to consume less calories is just track them, because you're going to be eye-opened to how much you're actually consuming. Also, use a food scale, right? Use a food scale, right? Learn how to properly weigh food. Okay? People, again, they'll track calories and they're eyeballing. They're like, this is probably a cup, or this is probably 8 ounces. And then they get a food scale and they use it and they're like, wait, that was actually 12 ounces or whatever it is. So use a food scale, actually track your calories, and then learn how to read a nutrition label. I'm going to make videos for both of these. Use a food scale and learn how to read a nutrition label. I'm going to make a video for those. So it'll be on my channel at some point. By the time you're watching this, it may be there, it may not, but look around for it. It'll come out. Okay. Additionally, a great way to consume less total calories is by eating your protein first. Why? Because protein is the most satiating macronutrient. So if you consume it first, chances are you are less likely to overconsume on the back end the carbs and the fats. Right? So just eat it first. It stimulates the hunger. You feel better. You feel good. Also, eat high volume foods. High volume foods are foods that take up a lot of space in your stomach for a low calorie count. So think fruits, veggies. Honestly, like I hate to use it as an example, but like popcorn is a really good one, like Smart Pop. Right? But the high volume foods, this is why salads are great as well, as long as you're not drizzling a bunch of dressing on them. They take up a lot of space and they're low calorie. Buy food that literally says low calorie on it, or no sugar, skim, or non-fat. Now, obviously, you have to be careful because some companies are using this as a marketing tool because they know people who are trying to lose weight are looking for these things. So you do need to know how to read a read a nutrition label. That way you know what you're getting yourself into. But generally, these are going to be good options. Okay. Now, when it comes to burning more calories, the best option is to build muscle, because muscle burns more calories at rest than fat. So if you have more muscle on your frame, you're going to burn more calories overall. The best way to build muscle is to resistance train. That's it. It's that simple. It's that simple. Now, you can also walk more everywhere while you're on the phone, while you're in meetings. Anything that's like under a mile from my house, generally now, I try to walk to, unless it's the middle of the workday and I have to go fast, which I understand. But if it's later in the evening and we're going to dinner and I can walk there, I live in a very walkable little town. So I can walk to most places instead of driving half a mile down the road. I'll just walk, get more steps in. When I'm on the phone, instead of sitting at my desk here like I am recording this video, if I was on a Zoom call or a phone meeting, I would just put in the earbuds and walk. Very simple. Lastly, find an active hobby or 2 or 3 or more. So like I've mentioned a few times in this video, I do jujitsu, I do Muay Thai, I do MMA, I play golf, I do pickleball, right? I like to go on hikes. These are all like active hobbies, things that I do regularly. So find yourself a bunch of stuff that you enjoy that also keeps you moving. You will feel infinitely better. And if you're a guy that has a family, or like you're a business owner and you have a team, incorporate them. Make it part of the workday if you're a business owner. Involve your team. Team walk or team pickleball, right? Team golf outing, right? If you have a family, make jujitsu with the family a thing, right? Bring the kids, give them a membership. These are all things that you can do to burn more calories, and it's fun, and you will be amazed at the difference that it makes for you. Okay? Now, to finish this out, here's what I would do if you were my client. So I walked you through like how you could go and do it yourself, which is great. Obviously, it's a great option. You can do that. You can use this video. But what I would do if you were actually my client and I was hands-on with you, helping you navigate the nuances of this, and you had me to keep you accountable, we would aim to lose 10% of your body weight in the first 12 weeks together. And then we would reverse diet you out for more sustainability long-term. So I'll make a video on reverse dieting as well. I love making these videos because I just come up with more ideas for videos. So we would reverse diet you out for more sustainability long-term. So we would go a lot faster. Like, yes, we can take 6 months to lose 25 pounds, or we can just do it in like a month or two. And the reason I prefer as a coach rapid results is because when I get you results early, you trust me. You're also very motivated, which means you have emotional buy-in, and then you actually have real behavior change. And our goal is to change your behavior or change your default actions. That way you keep the weight off forever. Because if I just give you this list of exercises that you hate and food that you hate, and you just do it for a few weeks as like a boot camp, and then you get to the end of it and you stop, you never actually change the behavior, then chances are you're just going to gain the weight back when you're done. Right? So my goal as a coach is to get you results early. That way you trust me, you're motivated, and we can keep going. We use the psychology as a factor to ensure that this works for you. Okay. So that's what I would do if you're one of my clients. Again, more on reverse dieting. I'd have to make a whole different video on that. Right. But that's what I would do if you were my client compared to just using these 3 simple steps that you can do on your own. We would go a lot more aggressive because I can keep you accountable, because I can make nuanced changes for you. Now, if you want to be my client, book a free fat loss assessment with myself or somebody on my team using the link in the description below, or you can go to defaultkings.com and book a free fat loss assessment there. And the goal of this conversation would be walking you through how we're going to help you lose your next 10 to 50 pounds or more, and how if it doesn't work, or it does, but you absolutely hated the service and you think we're bad people, then at the end of it, when you're done, you don't pay, right? We could make you eligible for 100% refund. And the only time we don't honor our refund policy is when somebody joins and they don't do what we tell them to do. So yes, if you join, you have to actually do everything we say, because otherwise, of course, it won't work, right? So if you plan on working with us, be coachable, be helpful. And if you don't believe that we are capable of producing these results, then just go to defaultkings.com and see the results we produce for yourself. All right. So thanks for being here. If you found this video helpful, like, comment, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff. Hope you have a blessed day. Thanks for being here.